Hello, friends. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jason. This is Renee. This is Marriage Moment, and it is by far my favorite time of year. I love the fall.
I do too.
The weather's cooler. It's not 1,000 degrees outside. The sun isn't trying to kill us.
Yeah.
It's still calm, no wind. Fall golf is the best golf. It's a beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
However, if it's a season of fall in your marriage, it might be the most dangerous season of all.
Yeah.
So we have been going through this little book, The 4 Seasons of Marriage by Gary Chapman, and he is explaining to us the different seasons that our marriage will go through, what characterizes them or how you can recognize them, and then how to move from one to the other. And this one today is super important,
Yeah.
that we recognize when we're in fall and then figure out a plan to get out of it. Right?
Yes.
So let's talk about fall. What do we need to
Okay.
talk about?
So if we had read ahead a little bit, we would have actually put this in sync with winter.
Right?
And then started talking about the strategies to move out. So we're kind of backtracking just a little bit,
We are backtracking.
and that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So the fall season of marriage, you think about the beauty of the changing leaves like you're talking about. It's actually a sign that something is happening on the inside. Something is changing.
There's change happening.
There's change happening, and that is true for a marriage that's slipping into a fall season. So even though we really like the fall season because we're stopping the heat outside, and just as a season in nature, we love it. Fall can be, it can serve as a huge wake-up call for a couple when they realize our marriage is in a fall season. And it's interesting that some of the things he talked about in this part of the chapter in the book is that you can actually do nothing. You can take no action at all and just start, either one or both spouses is starting to disengage from the marriage, even if they're not meaning to. You just stop working on your marriage. You stop connecting. You start drifting. And when you take no action at all, that's what's going to happen.
And we say this a lot. If you've been watching these videos for any amount of time, we quite often will say something to the effect of, you can't just back into or accidentally have a really good marriage.
Yeah.
It won't happen if you don't put in some effort. And so if your marriage is one where you're not watching videos, going to conferences, intentionally doing something to improve your marriage, almost can guarantee that you are sliding into a fall. You might even be in winter. If you don't do anything to improve your marriage, you will fall into a fall season.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so this can happen to a couple that's been in a long-term marriage or relationship, but it can also happen in a young marriage. And so it depends on your actions that you take. And so in an early fall of a marriage, things might look normal, or the couple might seem happy on the outside, but something is changing. Something is brewing on the inside that's...
One or both can feel
Yes.
there's something not quite right. I don't know what it is. Things are changing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't put words to it, but one or both of you just feels like things are changing and we need to figure this out.
Yeah. So just like when we talked about the winter season, we're going to talk about the emotions, the attitudes, and the actions of a fall season of
Okay?
marriage.
So if you're experiencing these emotions when it comes to your marriage, you probably are in a fall season.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So the emotions of that for one or both, it could just be one, but it's probably both. There's sadness, there's feeling rejection, feeling emotionally depleted. You feel lonely. One or both of you kind of feel lonely. You're not connecting. The couple is aware that things are not quite right.
That's kind of the big red flag.
Yeah.
Is there's just some sense of something's off.
Something's off, and one or both of the partners is kind of troubled about the relationship. Something's not right. It says that one or both spouses may feel dejected, disheartened, and this one's interesting, unappreciated. I think that happens a lot.
Yep.
And, so those are the emotions that you might recognize in your marriage if you're in a fall season, even an early fall. The attitudes of fall, again, is that uncertainty, great concern about the marriage. And again, it could only be
Might just be one
person. They did a lot of interviews or a lot of counseling with people that one spouse thinks everything's fine. The other spouse is greatly concerned. And so if there's just one, there's a problem.
Yes.
So sometimes, okay, so we talked about that. So then whether you move from fall to winter or from fall back into spring or summer depends on these actions that you take.
So if you're in a fall season, one of you or both of you is concerned, something's not right, we're not sure what it is, feeling unappreciated, a little bit rejected, sadness in the marriage. We don't really know other than that how to qualify it or characterize it, but something's not right.
Yeah.
At that point, you can do some things. You can jumpstart your marriage and send it right back into spring, which we haven't talked about yet, but which is obviously where you want to be, spring and summer. Or you can just do nothing. Ignore it.
Yeah.
Hope that it works itself out.
Right. And a lot of people think that.
A lot of people fall into that trap of, well, it'll figure itself out. It'll work out. If you don't do the work, it won't work out. You have to do something.
Right. So the first action of fall is no action.
Yeah.
What you're just saying.
If you want to go to winter, take no action.
Yeah. And if you neglect, it's coming from neglecting your marriage. So you'll start growing slowly apart, or you'll be jolted by some crisis in the marriage or in life. So the leaves were changing colors and slowly falling, but they didn't recognize it because they weren't in tune with each other. So that can happen in a marriage, just like with the leaves outside. They could see that there was something, they could feel that something was not right, but they weren't in tune with each other. This was a couple that he was counseling, and so they just didn't recognize it in time to do something about it. So let's talk about what neglect looks like. So this is an action.
Yeah, this is an action you can take when you're in fall, and it'll guarantee you go to winter. And I want to read this chapter this paragraph. Okay. He says, over and over again in the research that I did in preparation for this book, couples who described their marriage as being in the fall season echoed that neglecting each other was the central ingredient in creating a fall season.
Yeah.
Neglecting each other emotionally, physically, sexually, all of those things, just neglecting your spouse guarantees you're moving from fall to winter.
Yeah. So when you neglect, this is what it looks like when we neglect our marriage. It looks like lack of communication. You just stop communicating. Not even just talking, but texting and writing, emailing, any kind of communication just stops. Not spending time together, not connecting. You just let yourself have nothing in common. And it's almost like both partners are just leading separate lives, like even though you're still married. Yeah. So when you allow the relationship to drift, you will always drift apart.
100%. Anytime in a relationship, if you're not working to make it better, it is going to drift apart.
Yeah. So if you find that you're in a fall marriage, even if it's an early fall, you have a choice on how you're going to respond. So you can take positive actions, you can seek help to lead your marriage back into spring and summer, not give up hope for the marriage, or you're going to make destructive choices that are going to lead to a winter and possibly the death of the marriage. So it can be things like substance abuse, it can go that far, lies, being unfaithful, there's a lack of trust. Those are not good in a marriage, but that's a choice that we take. So to make the most of fall, if you realize that you're in a fall and you need to figure something out and figure out your way back to spring, this motivates most couples. This would motivate you to reach out for help.
Right.
To watch marriage moment videos, to go to a marriage seminar or retreat, to reach out for some counseling, to read a book together about marriage and just learn how to be a better spouse, to pray together or pray on your own about your marriage. It's kind of something that pushes you into seeking some help, hopefully. So the bottom line at the end of that was that no marriage is hopeless. If you find that you're in a fall season, it's not hopeless.
So don't give up hope.
Yeah.
Use it as motivation. And then there are some steps you can take to avoid winter and jump right back into spring. And they're the same strategies for getting out of winter.
Right.
To get out of winter and to get out of fall, you do the same things, and we've already talked about that. So that's kind of why we're backtracking. So if you missed the last marriage moment, which we published 2 weeks ago, it's in the same playlist. At the end of that one, which is called Winter is Coming, then that you missed the strategy. The strategy to get out of fall and the strategy to get out of winter is the same, and we'll just let you watch that other video instead of repeating it here.
Yeah.
But if you're in one of those seasons, I would definitely learn those strategies and do whatever you can, because your marriage is your most important possession. It's the most important thing you've got. It's more important than your house, than your job, than your career. It's even more important than your kids.
Yeah.
Because your kids need a happy, healthy, growing marriage in order for them to grow up in a stable environment. It really is the most important thing you have. So kudos just for watching the video, taking the time to invest. I mean, that's part of working on your marriage. So taking the time to watch this 12, 13, I don't know how long minute video with a couple of people who have no clue, but we really love marriage and we want to help yours and we want ours to be as good as it can be. Just making the effort is pushing you into spring. So keep working, keep being intentional about your marriage, and do everything you can to make it as good as you possibly can. Don't give up hope.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Bye.